Hello, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 307, and I'm Lisa, also known as fibernymph on most of social media. Today is Monday, March 11th, I believe, and it's been a couple of weeks since I got to talk to you. How have you been? I hope you've been well. We are out here in my porch room. It's a weird time of day. What time is it? It's like, 12:30. And the sun is, it's doing weird things, so I may need to readjust occasionally if a stray sunbeam decides to come straight across my face or something. It's beautiful out today. It's sunny. The sky's all blue. I don't know how much, you can't really see the sky much up there, but you can see all the sunshine. I thought I'd give you a glimpse out my window, because look, there's no snow on the ground. That's very exciting. Yeah, it got a little bit warm over the weekend. It was actually up to like 60, I think, on, I don't know, was it yesterday? I think it maybe went up to 60. It was quite windy, but it pretty much melted off all the snow. I know we'll get more, but I'm going to just enjoy it now. It's not nearly as warm today. It's kind of windy out, but it's still beautiful. And you can just tell spring is trying to come. It's trying. I went to, I had to go to the post office one day last week, and on my way back I drive past the little lake that I paddle in the nicer weather months, and I stop there occasionally and I'll sit and just take a break in my day on my way home from the post office. I think I've talked about that before. And the lake was only partly frozen over, but there were tons of Canada geese, like over 100 at least. I imagine they were probably a flock that was flying back from wherever they had wintered, and so they decided to have a rest stop on my little lake. But it was just so funny. They're so loud. And so they were sitting on the ice, and then they would walk off the ice into the water occasionally. I have a little video clip. If I remember, I'll try to put that in here for you, but they're just walking into the water. That's so funny. I've never watched geese do that. Walk off the ice and into the water. One at a time, single file. And the ducks were back too. I was super happy to see the ducks, because that means within the next month or so, as it warms up, there will be starting to be little baby duckies, and they are just adorable. Because usually when I start paddling at the beginning of like the mid to late spring, once it gets warm enough that I can get out on the lake, I love paddling around, and I see the mommy and daddy ducks with their little babies, and they're so cute. Anyway, this isn't a duck podcast or waterfall episode, but I just thought I would share that because spring is coming. I'm so happy. I'm drinking some tea today. This is stash tea, and this is my new favorite tea that I'm drinking a lot. It's strawberry pomegranate herbal tea, so it doesn't have any actual tea in it, but it has rooibos in it, which rooibos, you often see rooibos called a tea. It's not really tea though. It is just, it's another kind of herbal plant, and it's got a very distinct flavor that I've grown to really love over the years. Yeah, I don't know, but I can taste the rooibos in this a little bit more than the fruit. It's not super strong, but it's very good, and I love it. And this is very hot, which is making me feel good because I'm a little chilly, even though I did turn the heat on out here. I just wanted to say thank you to those of you who sent really nice wishes and thoughts for my mom, who was having hip replacement surgery 2 weeks ago today, actually. It went great. I was so happy to be able to go down to Florida and be with her then, and I was there for about a week. The surgery went great. Her recovery has gone fabulously. She's still doing some PT, but honestly, she went from a walker to a cane inside of a week. And she's driving again, and I mean, she's allowed to drive again, and she's allowed to walk without her cane if she wants to, mostly at home. They're still encouraging her to have her cane if she goes out, but she's doing fabulously. It's amazing how quickly people can recover from, you know, hip replacements. She was in really, really good shape though before she had the surgery, so I think that definitely helps. I hope I'm as healthy and as good a shape as she is by the time I get to her age, because I don't think I'm in that good a shape as her now, and I'm 23 years younger. So anyway, thank you for that. Also, because I was away for a week, please know I am way behind on my Ravelry messages. If you've sent me a message through Rav, chances are I have not seen it or read it yet. I will get to them, I promise. I'm trying to catch up on everything. I'm still trying to catch up on everything. Email, I've tried to stay caught up on. So if you have anything that you really need to contact me about and need a prompt response, email's the way to go. fibernymph@gmail.com. But otherwise, I will try to get to the Ravelry messages as soon as I can. Anyway, let's move on to the content. Did I do all of my intro? I said my name's Lisa, right? I think I did. I'm sorry. If this is your first podcast, I'm really glad you're here. Just know that whenever I have a podcast period where it's been a couple weeks or more since my last podcast, things tend to be a little disjointed and crazy because I usually have a lot to say and I'm trying to not race through it, but I don't also want to record for 2 hours and you don't want to watch it for 2 hours, trust me. But I do have some knitting to show you. I have some finished objects. The first finished object is a pair of socks that I can't show you because I finished them while I was down in Florida and then I gave them to my mom. I will insert a picture here though. I realized that wasn't a very good picture of them because I did not have sock blockers and I didn't even bother to put them on my own feet before I gave them to her. And she couldn't try them on because she has to wear support hose right now, so she didn't want to put them on well, I didn't even ask her. Excuse me, I didn't even ask her to put them on, but I just gave them to her. Those were her celebratory hip surgery socks. Those were one of my WIPs socks that I was working on from my big bin of sock WIPs. That was the West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply in the blue tit colorway. I don't remember what the colorway number is, but it's probably on my project page. That one was one that I started, I don't know, at least a year ago, so I was glad to be able to get those finished. That was originally what I was calling my Flexi Flips experiment, using the Addy Flexi Flips. As soon as I pulled it back out of the bin and started to work on it again, because I did have the second sock cast on the Flexi Flips, and I had, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches probably. I did a couple of rounds with the Flexi Flips and I said, no, I'm switching over to Magic Loop, and I did, and I'm glad I did. I don't hate the Flexi Flips. I'm going to hang on to them because I think they'll probably come in handy for various and sundry things. But they're definitely not going to replace Magic Loop as my preferred way of knitting socks. That's for sure. Anyway, that was another pair of WIP socks done, and so that was a good thing. And then I've finished another pair of socks that were also WIPs. Matter of fact, I just finished these this morning. And this is a pair of Christmas socks. The yarn is from TangledStrings. I don't know if Sandy's still dying or not. I looked at her shop page and she doesn't have anything up right now on Etsy, so I'm not sure what the status of that is. But I bought this yarn in December of 2017 because this was my Christmas Eve cast on that year. And I did get the first sock done. This was the first one. I got this one done in fairly short order, and I did cast on the second one, and then right here where that progress keeper is, that's where it stopped. And it's languished ever since, and I don't know why, because I enjoyed this colorway so very much. It's called Hippie Christmas. That's the speckly main color. And then she was selling this in sets with either the red or the green. I placed a special order with her at the time and got mini skeins of both because I wanted to do this, what I did. Alternate the heels, cuffs, and toes on each sock. And I just love how these turned out. They were so much fun to knit. I have no idea why I let them languish for so long, but I did. But they're done now, and now I need to probably wait at least until late November to wear them. Not that it's a big deal to wear whatever socks at whatever time of year, but I will probably keep them nice and fresh until then. I knit them on, what size did I knit them on? US size 1s, and I magic loop, and this was just a plain sock, cuff down sock. Like I said, I used contrasting yarn for the cuff. I did a heel flap and gusset, which I like this, using contrasting yarn for the heel flap. Socks are done. Another whip finished. That's the main thing right there. Okay, let's see what else. I did finish, believe it or not, another pair of socks, which are brand new cast on. I know, I said I wasn't going to cast on any more new socks till I finished all these whip ones. However, they're for a shop thing. And it's a shop thing I can't show you yet. Probably the next time I record, I will be able to show you though. So, but just know that I finished a whole other pair of socks. I did cast those on while I was away though. And I can't remember if I got the first one done while I was away. I don't know. But I worked on those socks while I was away and when I was home, and now they're done. And I'm super happy with them. I can't wait to show you, but I'll stop talking about them since I'm not showing them to you today. So that is 3 pair of socks finished in, I don't know, what, a little over 2 weeks. I realized I didn't do all of the socks in that amount of time, but I'm still pretty happy to have 3 pair of socks off the needles in that amount of time. So those are the only finished objects I have. The other project that I've had on the go that I'm considering, it's just done. It's not finished, but I'm done with it. The antidote mitts, do you remember those? I didn't bring it in. I was doing those as a sample out of my ridgetop fingering weight. And I decided I really don't like the project. I love the yarn. I love how it was knitting up, but I just didn't like how the mitt was knitting up, aside from the fact it was knitting up so huge. So I've decided to just scratch that off the list, call it finished. I'm considering it, well, it's frogged on my Ravelry page, but whatever, it's fine. Anyway, that brings us to a check-in with my spreadsheet. I'm keeping track of my whips and my current works in progress on a spreadsheet this year. So looking at the spreadsheet, it's really coming along, I gotta say. So this is where it stands now. The 3 projects here in yellow are whips that I finished since the end of January, because that was the last time I showed you this, I believe, or maybe the very beginning of February. So the Hippie Christmas Socks, the Flexi Flips, and the Dark and Stormy Socks, which I showed you, I don't know, a time or 2 ago. So those were all whips, and I got those finished. I have 2 things here. These in red were things that I had decided to frog, which I think I already told you about. I have 2 things in gray. These are things I'm considering frogging or just not finishing. The one is the Merry and Bright socks that are in my whips thing. Muffin, stop. She's over in her bed digging. I don't know if you can hear it or not. Anyway, the Merry and Bright socks, it's one of my colorways. However, the yarn that I have, I've had them on the needles since, what, 2016. It's a base that I don't even carry anymore. And so I'm kind of feeling like, I mean, not that I can't knit myself things just for personal use out of, you know, bases that I don't carry anymore in the shop, but I kind of like to knit things that are current so that I can also have them as samples, which I realize socks, if I'm going to use them as samples, I can't really wear, which is fine because I have a ton of hand knit socks already. Plus I knit things out of other yarns too, so I don't know. I'm just considering maybe not using that yarn at all and destashing it or giving it away, or I don't know. I just haven't decided what to do. But I may be getting rid of those socks. I think I only have part of a cuff because I originally started doing those as the Vanilla is the New Black, I think was the name of the heel pattern. And I screwed it up, and so I ripped it back to the cuff. I don't know. I'm not feeling enthusiastic about those socks. Let's just put it that way. I love the colorway, but I don't know. That, and then the other thing I'm considering possibly, I don't know that I'd actually frog the piece that I have done. I may just leave it and move on and use the rest of the yarn for something else, is my Tabbouleh sweater. That was what one of the sweaters I cast on last summer out of the Frangipani sport weight yarn. I think it'll be pretty in that yarn. It's just not, I don't know. I just can't get excited. I may just leave it and not worry about it, and just it'll be there in case I ever get the urge to do that sort of a sweater again. But in my head, as I think about sweaters and knitting another sweater, that's not one I'm feeling drawn to right now. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that one. It's there for the moment. Otherwise, on my spreadsheet, my new cast on section here, the red line is the antidote mitts, saying that I'm not finishing those. In February and also March now, my Dragon Wing Cow was a new project that got finished, and then the socks I can't show you also got finished. So to date, I have actually finished 5,711 yards for not quite 3 months. Pretty good. I'm happy with that. Not that I ever really, well, I can't say I don't care. I keep track of it. It's just sort of a numbers thing that I like to know. So for statistical purposes, my total yards knit each year. Anyway, so that's where we are. I'll show you the spreadsheet again probably sometime in April. Maybe I'll wait till the end of April this time. So let's move on to some current WIPs. I have not yet chosen another pair of socks out of my WIP bin to be my next sock project, and that is because I actually have 2 different colorways that are going to be in the shop soon that I need to knit up some samples. I probably won't get the entire sock done, but enough of the cuff to be able to show the colorway, and I need to do that in fairly short order. So that's probably going to be my sock knitting for right now. And then I will go choose another sock out of the bin. But as for other things that I've worked on, I have my shawl, which I've shown you before. I think I showed you when I first started it. This is the right around the corner shawl, even though on my show notes I still have it as just around the bend. I don't know why. It's on my spreadsheet correctly. So this is a 2-color shawl, and it's done in 3 parts. You do a big main triangle alternating, it's garter stripes, and then you do one side of the shawl in the one color, the other side of the shawl in the other color, and you get this big triangular shawl, and you put tassels on the ends, and I think the finished object is going to be fantastic. I can't wait to have it. The knitting of this big garter triangle is boring me to tears. I just can't. Now, I did knit on this a lot while I was away. On the plane, at my mom's. So it is getting to be quite sizable now. Reading the pattern, you're supposed to use like half of each of your balls of yarn in this part alone before you do the other 2 parts, the borders. And I didn't have a scale with me while I was away, and so I didn't want to knit too far. I was pretty sure I hadn't. Oh, actually, no, that's not true. My mom had a scale. I finally found a scale at my mom's, and I looked, and I was only, I don't know, it was some ridiculous amount. I was only like a quarter of the way through, or a third of the way through, and I'm like, oh, I can't do much more of this. But I keep working on it a little bit, and then as I read further into the pattern, she does actually give you a stitch count to get to. Go figure. Read the pattern, you might learn something. This is, by the way, the Right Around the Corner shawl by Lisa Hannes, Hannes. So yeah, I think I'm at somewhere like around 111 stitches, and I think I need to get up to 140 something stitches. And you're only increasing 1 stitch every 2 rows, I guess. Yeah, because you're increasing on the right side at the beginning, not on the far end, and then on the way back you're not increasing at all. So yeah, I sit down and I work on it, and I do a few rows, and it's like let me weigh you again. Or let me count the stitches again. And it doesn't seem to change significantly. It's like black hole knitting at this point. I know I'm gonna love the finished object. I've seen these finished shawls and they're super cute. But man, I'm just not enjoying this process right now. The yarn that I'm using is some of my Mountain Tweed. This is Deep Red and this is Warm Honey Mountain Tweed. I love the yarn. It's, again, so much fun to work with. It's just kind of boring knitting. I'm really getting yeah, I'll go into that a little bit more later. Sorry. I'm jumping ahead in my brain. So this is still in progress. It will get done eventually, but anyway. All right, what's next? The other thing I worked on is my Serendipitously Fading Pullover, which you can see I'm not wearing today, so that means it's not finished. I did actually take that with me to Florida. Sorry, I'm fidgeting. Sorry, I had to adjust the camera height because I sat back a little bit and then I was like way down here and you were seeing all this up here. I think this is better. Anyway, the Serendipitously Fading Pullover I took with me on my trip, and I did pull it out one day and decided to work on the sleeves, and so I started working on the first sleeve and I got about halfway through it and I decided to try it on, and I was really glad I did because it ended up being way too huge. It was, the sleeve itself was quite baggy up here in the upper arm, and under here, like, I had all this, you know how you get that bunchy fabric here in the front of the arm? That was horrible. So I thought, nope, can't do that. So I tore it all out, which was kind of a pain too because I was working from all those smaller balls since I'm doing the fade in the sleeves as well to kind of, it's not going to match the fade in the front. Yeah, I was winging it with how much yarn to save for the sleeves, and I didn't save quite enough, but it's okay, it'll be fine. Anyway, I ripped it back, put the needles back into the original sleeve stitches, and I ended up picking up far fewer stitches in the underarm. I'm not following the pattern at this point on this. I think I mentioned that before. The pattern I used to do the cast on and the yoke part is a Jane Richmond pattern called Ladies Classic Raglan Pullover. And basically once I got the sleeve stitches off and on holders and was just knitting down the body because I knew I wasn't going to do any shaping, I quit following the pattern. And I don't know why I didn't look at the pattern to see how many stitches she recommends picking up in the armholes, like the underarm, but I didn't. And whatever. I'm kind of doing my own thing now. So I started it again, and I picked up probably about half as many stitches in the underarm. And then I started doing this kind of odd little decreasey thing that I don't know is really a thing for arms sleeves, but it seems to be working, and I think it's getting rid of that extra baggy stuff here, and the sleeve isn't quite as I don't think the sleeve will turn out to be quite as baggy. So I did that and then I stopped, mainly because at that point I just needed a little break from it, but also because having knit down, I knitted probably down to about just below my elbow. And at that point I was on the last ball of yarn, and I knew I was not going to have enough yarn to finish the sleeve to the length that I wanted, because I don't want a 3/4 length sleeve. That I could probably do. I want a full length sleeve. So unfortunately I think I'm going to have to dye yet one more skein of yarn, and I'm hoping I can match that last Merlot colorway that I dyed when I dyed more for the body. If you recall back at the beginning, I was knitting this as a way to use up some one-of-a-kind skeins that I had hanging around. Yeah, I think I've ended up dyeing at least as many skeins again, or I will by the time I do this last skein for the sleeves, as I had when I started to make this work, because I ended up not using at least three of the original skeins I had. Whatever. It'll be fine. It's just sort of amusing to me that this is what's happening. This is the hazard of being a dyer, because you can just dye more yarn. If it's not working, you do more. Whatever. And that's how you end up with a ton of yarn hanging around. I'm not showing it to you because there's really nothing for you to see beyond what you saw the last time when I showed you what the body looked like. And I probably will not talk about it again until I get the sleeves finished. I'd like to finish them soon though, so that I can actually still wear it while it's chilly. While it's still chilly. I mean, it's only mid-March, so I know it's still going to be chilly here for a while. So hopefully soon I will have another finished sweater. Because the other thing is, I really would like to cast on another sweater, but I refuse to let myself do that until I get that one finished. I know better. What else did I work on? Oh, I've been working on my Granny Stripes blanket. I think the last I told you, I have about 12 more inches to go. I've done about 3 more inches. So 9 more inches to go, and I think it'll be the size where I can call it done. I am not planning to do any kind of border on it. It's just going to be the blanket. And I'll be glad to have it done, just because it'll be a nice blanket that'll be finished and I can put on our bed. But I really would like to do another one, I think. But I have another Afghan that I think I'm going to cast on as a gift before that, so we'll see. Stay tuned. Oh, the other project, I feel like I have multiple things here. Oh, I didn't put this one on the show notes. I think I just picked it up. This one I had actually cast on before and I mentioned to you, but I didn't show you. It was my movie hat. I cast on a hat whenever I was going to see a movie with my son a few weeks ago. And so this is that hat. My husband and I sat and watched Bohemian Rhapsody the other night. I streamed it on Amazon Prime. So I pulled this back out to knit on a bit while I was watching that. Really good movie. If you like Queen and want to, learn more about the story of Freddie Mercury, or the Freddie Mercury story and want to watch the movie, I would highly recommend it. We both enjoyed it. And we both love Queen. So, okay, here's the hat. This bottom part was just a partial ball of a one-of-a-kind color that I had from ages ago. I can't even remember what I originally dyed it for. I think I made another hat out of it at one point. But basically, I used all that was left of it for this. So this will be, a brim that can be folded up. And then this is another partial ball of my yarn in sand. And this is my cozy worsted weight base. Yeah, it's just a plain beanie with it'll have a rolled up brim or folded up brim. Nothing too special about this. I don't know if I'll keep it. I might give it to Bill if he wants it. He always says he doesn't need more hats, but then he does end up wearing the hats I give him. Or it may just be a charity hat, and that will be fine too. So, yeah. And I can't remember what size needle I have them on. It's in the project page, though, but that's something else I worked on a little bit. Okay, then the last project I'm going to show you is a new cast on, and this is my Slay the Stash project for March. Slay the Stash is a project, or is a program that Jen in the Cellar Studio group is running this year. She did it last year too. I did not take part last year. But I'm doing it this year, and I've so far done a project each month, so this is my 3rd month. The project that I am doing, well, let me first tell you about the yarn. It's this ball of green, which is an Aran weight yarn. It's a 3 Irish Girls, and I don't have the tag in here. I don't remember what the base is called. Linden Merino, I think. Is what it is. So it's an Aran weight base. The color is Greener Pastures. This was another one of the colorways I got when I was in the Pick of the Knitter Club back in 2007. I'm trying to use up old stash with this Slay the Stash project. Anyway, I wasn't real sure. I don't knit with Aran weight yarn a whole lot, so I really kind of struggled finding a good pattern. And I had found a scarf pattern that I thought might be good. It would be a really short scarf because there's not a lot of yardage here. But then Grace from Babel's Traveling Yarns, I saw, I guess it was not her most recent podcast, but the one before, she showed this cowl project that she was going to do. Isn't that pretty? Look at those cables. And I saw that, and I looked the pattern up, and it's specifically written for Aran yarn, almost exactly the yardage I have. And I thought, this is exactly what I need to do, because I'm so bored with plain stockinette and plain garter stitch. I need something that's going to be a challenge, and boy howdy, this is a challenge. It's not hard, but there's a lot going on in this pattern. So the pattern is called the Cable Crush Cowl by Caryl Pierre. And it's just a very, it's a short, wide cowl. And I think it's going to be great. And I love it in this green because, it's March. There's St. Patrick's Day coming up. Green is perfect for that. Cables are perfect for that because they look so much like Celtic knots to me. Anyway, I literally have 3 pages of this pattern laying out at all times when I'm working on it. I cannot watch podcasts while I'm working on this. I cannot talk to somebody while I'm working on this. I can't have somebody talking to me, and I cannot talk on the phone, which I found out this morning when my daughter called as I was in the middle of a round. I had to just sit it down. There is a lot going on. All the different motifs, let's see. You can't really see it so much on mine yet because I'm only 10 rounds in. But if you look at this, there's these 2 small, oops, I don't want to show you the pattern. These 2 smaller cables. And then there's this nice big, I just love this cable motif. And then there's this little motif, which they don't happen at the same time. This is done really interestingly. This is a really unique, I've never done this. It involves wrapping and stuff. I'm really good at cabling without a cable needle. That's my preference for that. But when it comes to these little sections here where you have to wrap yarn, you have to use another needle. There's no way to do it with, at least not that I can think of, without using a cable needle. I can't actually find any of my cable needles because I haven't used them in such a long time, so I'm actually just using a tip from my short Lika set. It works. Anyway, yeah, it's fun. Let me show you what I have so far. So this is as far as I am, and that whole motif repeats twice around. So it's on the front and on the back, basically. So here it is. I don't want the stitches to fall off the needle. Let's see, let me find my cable motif. Here's my cable motif so far. And I don't know how much you're really going to be able to see it. Like, here's between my fingers, here to here. I can see it more in person than I can on the camera, really. But you can see the texture of it. It's really neat. And then I did do one of my first wrappy things that you do. It's fun. It's got some techniques in it that I have not done before. That wrappy thing is one, and then there's another stitch. I don't know if you'll be able to see this so much, and I don't remember what it's called. Let's see. Are you going to be able to see this? I don't know. I don't think it's going to focus, but anyway, the way you do this little stitch motif here is different from anything I've done before. So I'm enjoying it because it is a little bit of a challenge. It makes me think. I have to go slow, and knitting on the heavier weight yarn, I have to go slow anyway because it's not as comfortable as lighter weight yarn for me. I am knitting this on a US 7. No, I'm knitting it on a US 8. The pattern calls for a 7, but that just seemed really small for me for an Aran weight yarn, and I didn't want the cables to be like bulletproof, so I went up to an 8, and I'm really happy with the fabric I'm getting. So that is the Cable Crush Cowl by Caryl Pierre, and hopefully I'll have that done. Well, you know what, I won't say that, because if I record next week, I don't think I'll have it done by next week. It's going to take a little bit of time. It's funny, 2 of these bags that I'm using today are from a bag maker that does not make bags anymore. At least I'm pretty sure this one's hers too. It's the same style. I think she was Busy Day Creations, Busy Day something, on Etsy years ago. She does not make bags anymore, but I have a bunch of her bags. I love them. This poor one went through the wash and this silky cord got totally frayed. I really ought to replace it, but I haven't. Okay. We have the WIPstravaganza thread going on in the Fibernymphdyeworks group this year. It's a year-long, really low-key along. Very few rules. Matter of fact, the only rule is that the WIP that you are working on has to have been started prior to 2019. That's it. It could have been started December 31st, 2018. It doesn't matter to me as long as it's before 2019. It counts for WIPstravaganza. And it's not, I don't think I set out to officially do prizes, but I'm going to do a prize a month just because, as long as people are, you know, taking part in it anyway. I realize as the year goes on, there may be fewer and fewer things talked about in there because if you finish your WIPs, you may not have any more. So we'll see how that goes. But for right now, we did have some conversation happening last month in February. And let's see, I have it written there. There were, I don't know, posts 56 through 82 were from February. So I put those numbers into random number generator and it chose post number 68, who's Chris Marie. So Chris Marie, and I assume your name is either Chris or Marie, congratulations, you are the winner for WIPstravaganza in February. Your prize is any pattern that I can gift to you through Ravelry up to a $10 total. So if you have one $10 pattern that I can gift to you on Ravelry, great. If there's a couple patterns that add up to no more than $10, I'll be happy to gift those to you. Please PM me on Ravelry. I will watch for your post. Put prize winner in the subject so I know to look for it. And let me know what 2 patterns or however many patterns that add up to $10, what patterns you'd like, and I will gift those to you. Congratulations. I figure if you're finishing WIPs, you deserve a new pattern or two to have something else to work on and hopefully not have languished for years like I seem to have with all my WIPs. The other along that's taking place right now started back on February 14th, Valentine's Day, and is running through the end of March. So you still have, you know, 2 or 3 more weeks, I guess, probably closer to 3 weeks. And that is our Craft What You Love Along. All of the rules for that are up in the group. There is a finished objects thread also in the group. Please use the hashtag 90K Craft What You Love, all spelled out, if you are on Instagram, because I will be doing prize drawings on Instagram as well at the end, or a prize drawing from Instagram. So your prize options for that is I'll be drawing 1 prize winner from the chatter thread, 1 from the finished object thread, and 1 from the Ravelry or the Instagram hashtag. So 3 prize opportunities for the Craft What You Love Along. I'm not drawing any prizes in the middle of the thing since it's only a month and a half long. I figure at the end is good. But I've been enjoying seeing what you guys are working on and what you love, and yeah, please take part. I do have some prizes to give out for the February monthly makes, but I'm going to hold on to that and do that during the shop news segment since that is technically a Fibernymphdyeworks sponsored along. So just hang tight if you would like to know if you're a prize winner for that. Before I forget, the fiber exchange and spin along that I talked about several weeks ago now, the thread, I have not added any more information. I haven't forgotten about it. It is coming, I promise. Stay tuned. With everything and the traveling, and I just haven't had time to sit down and figure it out yet. But I will, and hopefully there will still be interest when I do. So hang on there. It's coming. Let's see. A drawing. Speaking of drawings, I have a new drawing that I'm going to start a thread for. And then the next time I record, I will choose a winner. And that is for the Go With The Flow Shawl by Jennifer Lassonde. This is a new pattern for her, but new-ish pattern. It's been out for a little while now. And she was kind enough to send me a copy, and she always offers to do a copy for a prize drawing as well, which is so kind of her. And I just haven't had a time to do anything with it yet. So I wanted to make sure I shared this with you. You've probably seen it or heard about it on other podcasts. I know Steph from the Knitting Samurai and her guys podcast is actually doing a knit along for this, although I looked and the knit along actually ends this week. So sorry, I don't think you'll get to join in that unless you're a super speedy knitter, and you would need to buy the pattern yourself for that, since I won't be giving this one away till after her knit along's over. But anyway, it's just a really fun, there's a lace section in the middle, and then there's garter ridges in different configurations. I think there's some other stitch patterns in there as well. It's really cool. Her patterns are written using a checkbox system. I don't know if you've ever seen them before. How you have these check boxes, so you check as you do the the repeats of each thing you need to do. I love following Jennifer's patterns. They're always super well written. This pattern is actually written to be used with either fingering weight, DK weight, or worsted weight, which I think is pretty cool. So you can make this with pretty much whatever yarn you want to. And it doesn't take tons and tons of yarn. Like for the fingering weight, it only uses 600. So it's not one of those like 1,000 yard or more shawls. Oh, actually, she gives recommended needle sizes for everything from fingering through Aran. So, yeah, you literally can just do this with whatever. Anyway, I will open a thread in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group to have you answer a prompt if you would like to enter to win a copy of this pattern. And like I said, I will draw the winner and announce the winner for that next time I podcast, which will hopefully be next week, but you never know. The last thing I have for you today, in 90%, I still have other stuff to talk about, is new things. I haven't really shared new things with you in quite a while. And I'm not showing everything that I could show because we'd be here for an hour. But over the past few months, I have had some stash acquisitions, so I just thought I would share a few of them with you right now. The first one is from a dyer that I had not known about before, and I think I came across this dyer on Instagram, you know, the great enabler of Instagram. And this is from Onyx Fiber Arts. Isn't this beautiful? The dyer's name is Adria, and this is called Burst. Look at these colors in this skein of yarn. Isn't that amazing? Oh my gosh. I saw this and I was like, yes, yes, I do need to have that. All of these crazy colors. I love it. This is a DK weight yarn, 250 yards, 100% superwash merino. And I don't know what it'll become. In all likelihood, it'll either become a cowl or a hat, which will probably also then have some yarn left over. So who knows what I'll use it for. But that's what I tend to do with single skeins of DK. Or I could pair it with something else and do something else. I don't know. I just had to have this and I wanted to show you. And I just wanted to let you know about this dyer too in case you've never seen their yarn before. She's on Etsy, Onyx Fiber Arts. Toss that over there so it's out of the way. Second thing is I was at Pat Catans a few weeks ago. I don't have a Pat Catans close to me up here. So when I go back to my old stomping grounds, which I do once every couple of weeks usually, I try to do all my shopping that I need to do, and I wanted to go in Pat Catans because I needed to get some things that I use for work. But while I was in there, I went over to the yarn section. Pat Catans are closing. Like, they're closing all their stores, as I understand it. This one, I thought, well, maybe they're going to have some good clearance stuff. Well, they didn't. Not really yet. But I did pick up some Patons Kroy yarn while I was there just because I do like using Patons Kroy. It's super affordable. I know there have been a lot of podcasters talking about, you know, how do you afford really decent yarn if you don't have a big yarn budget. And I would say that Patons Kroy is one of the best bargains, and it's a really good yarn, like a great yarn to use, especially if you want a good workhorse yarn. Patons Kroy Effects is a little heavier than fingering weight, but I would maybe a light sport. I can't knit it on US 1s or I get bulletproof fabric. I think I did it maybe on 2s when I did socks out of this. But I wanted to pick some up just because this is great yarn to use for my son because he's a little hard on socks. So this was the one colorway I got, which is like a marled blue and gray color, number 2015, I think. 21511. I don't really know. But this is one color, and this is definitely a good guy color, I think, for the guys in my life anyway. And then there's this one, which I think could be good for, I would wear these. Actually, I might make these for me because I don't have any Patons Kroy socks yet. Do I? I don't think I do. Anyway, isn't that pretty? These greens and blues and light browns and kind of a taupey color. Oh, I just think it's gorgeous. And this is 2016-08. These are 50-gram balls, so you have to get 2 for a pair of adult socks. And then there's this set, which I just thought this was so bright and happy. I had to get it. This is 2016-03. I don't know if I will make these for me. This is the regular Patons Kroy, not Patons Kroy FX. And I've not used that, and I don't know if there's a notable difference. Let's see. As far as yardage, 166 yards. What's on this? Oh, it's the same yardage, so maybe it's the same. I just know I've used the FX before, and it seems heavier. And this feels comparable. So, yeah, lots of fun colors. That blue that's sticking out of the top of that one is actually in there too. So, we'll see. Obviously, I don't need any sock yarn, so it seems kind of funny that me, a yarn dyer's buying a sock yarn at a big box store, but I really do like the Patons Kroy. It's just a fun yarn. And then the last thing I wanted to show you that's a new thing, and I can't show you the whole thing because I couldn't find 2 of the skeins of yarn. I had joined the Sweet Sparrow Knits Yarn Club, her Forager Club, late last year, and it was a 3-month club. You got a skein of yarn each month, and then the 3rd month you also got a project bag. And I have to say, the promise of the project bag was one of the main draws for me for this particular club. So here's the project bag. Isn't it beautiful? Oh my goodness. I love Julia's bags. I have that big moon phase bag that I used for my Hedge Witch shawl project. That was one of her bags. They're just fabulous. I like that they're so huge, yet they're totally squishable. This is my favorite kind of bag, is a big squishable bag. Anyway, this was the 3rd skein of yarn that came with it. And it's just gorgeous. It's very pastel-y. Not quite in my wheelhouse, but I mean, I love all the colors in it. I don't know what I'll end up using it for. It could be a really pretty hat, really, if I want to do a fingering weight hat. I had joined and got the non-superwash yarn option. So this is her hummingbird base, which is a 50-50 merino and silk. So I'm assuming it's a non-superwash merino. Really soft, and it's got that silky sheen on it. You can see that, huh? I know it's not going to focus really, but anyway, and it's called Wisteria. So yeah, really pretty. The other 2 skeins though, there was one that was like a red, a deep rich red, variegated I believe, and the other one was sort of green. And it's funny because those 2 skeins matched really well, or coordinated really well, with another skein of hers that I had just purchased from her shop. It wasn't part of the club, that was a variegated that had both of those colors in it, and I think that made it end up being a 3 skein project sometime. I just couldn't find those 2 skeins to show you. I'm not sure if I put those away when I was remember I was putting a whole bunch of my stash yarn away earlier this year so that I would be not distracted by it so much and could finish my whips. I may have to start digging into that sometime soon though. Anyway, so yeah, that was the new things I wanted to show you, and I think that's it from 90%. So let's pop on to 10%, which really I don't have a whole lot to tell you because honestly my 10% was my trip to my mom's. I already told you Bill and I watched Bohemian Rhapsody. I think the only other thing I was going to touch on in 10% was life goals, because I didn't get to talk to you yet about how my February life goals ended up and what I'm doing for March. So this is something I'm doing this year rather than setting like big, New Year's resolutions at the beginning of the year. I'm trying to focus on a couple different things every month. And so for February, I had said I wanted to establish and keep boundaries with my time, taking time off on the weekends, spending less time online. And as far as those, I feel like I did sort of okay. I don't know that I took less time off on the weekend or spent less time working on the weekends. I did work on the weekends, but I also made sure that I balanced that by, taking time to do things with Bill as if he needed help with things, rather than tell him, well, I'm really busy right now. I just made sure I could stop what I was doing at a certain point and go help him without making a fuss about it, because he's only home on the weekends to work on big projects. I'm here all the time. So I feel like it's just fair that I be able to be available if he needs me, because I'm really thankful that he wants me to help him with certain things. As far as spending less time online, I also feel like I was pretty good about that. I really did try to spend less time on social media in general, you know, Facebook, Instagram, even with regard to how many podcasts and stuff I'm listening to and watching. I mean, I love to watch them, and I have my favorites, and I try to keep up, but honestly, sometimes I just can't, and then I get stressed, and like that's the opposite of what a podcast is supposed to do. So I haven't been beating myself up over it. I've been trying to use my work time rather than have a podcast going all the time. You know, I'm trying to branch out, like with my reading, you know, audiobooks I love listening to. I'm trying to listen to a variety of different things, which is part of a problem because then I don't get books finished as quickly if I'm listening to more than one. I'm also trying to listen to more types of podcasts rather than just knitting podcasts, which I mentioned the Ologies podcast last time. I'm still enjoying that one because there's still lots of episodes I haven't heard. There's a few other podcasts that I'm hoping to check out. And then music. I love listening to music, but I tend to not, that's not my default. But then when I do listen to music, it makes me feel really good and happy most of the time. And my two Pandora stations that I listen to the most are Celtic, like Irish and Celtic instrumental music, and piano, instrumental piano music, both classical and modern. Which is stringed instrument music, more or less, because there's like cellos and violins and stuff in some of it. It's just really good, and I love that music. So I've been trying to just diversify what I put into my head, I guess is where I'm going with that. My other thing for February was to work on strengthening my lower back, hip, and core muscles. That I pretty much did absolutely nothing with. So that one is definitely being carried over into March. I'm going to do that. And I'm adding to that to track my food intake and water. I have an app on my phone called, I think it's the My Plate app. I'll link it in the show notes. And even if I'm not super rigid about sticking to the calorie count or the fat count or the whatever, but I find it really helpful if I just track what I'm eating. As long as I'm tracking it and I can see what I'm eating, I eat better. Not that I eat horribly, but I just find that added incentive of actually seeing and taking the time to like count how many pita chips I eat with my lunch, or weigh how much that chicken breast weighs that I'm eating. And knowing that just really helps me to eat more healthily. And I've been doing that now since I got back from Florida, so a little over a week, and I've lost a couple pounds just doing that. My goal isn't necessarily weight loss oriented, it's just feeling better oriented and feeling my clothes fit better, because I have put weight on in the last 2 years and I'm not happy with myself over that. Not an excessive amount, but enough that I'm noticing it and I'd like it to go away. So, and as far as tracking my water, I don't do that as much as I do with the food, but I'm trying to keep track of that and still drink more water. That was one of my January goals, so I'm trying to keep up with that. Just not enough to keep me going to the bathroom 5 times every night. As far as March, in addition to those goals, I am trying to continue the whole being mindful with my time. I feel like the boundaries for my time online that I set up or that I established in February, I want to continue with those. So I'm trying to continue to be mindful of how I use my time in general, especially right now because I'm in a busy season. Now through at least midsummer, actually, yeah, through the beginning of August is a really busy season for me. I have a lot of shows coming up. I have a lot of dyeing commitments outside of that. And I don't want to get behind. So I really do need to focus on using my time super wisely. And I'm trying to read my show notes to make sure I don't forget anything. Oh, the other thing I'm doing with regard to my phone, both in an effort to not be online as much, but also just sort of as an experiment. I used to always plug my phone in at night and have it sitting on my nightstand, like it was just plugged in by my nightstand. I'd turn the sound off and I'd put it on airplane mode so I wouldn't be hearing anything through the night. But inevitably, when I would go to bed at night, it would be the last thing I would be doing. I would be sitting there scrolling through Facebook or social media or reading news articles or whatever, right before bed. And then first thing when I would wake up in the morning, it was the first thing I reached for, and I started again, checking email, whatever. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is silly. I don't need to be on there first thing every day. This is ridiculous. Or last thing every day. And I have read that having a cell phone in your bedroom negatively impacts your sleep, or can negatively impact your sleep. I don't know if I really buy that or not. I mean, I can see how it would negatively impact things if you heard it going off all night, notifications or whatever. But I'm trying it. I have stopped plugging my phone in the bedroom. I'm plugging it in over in the yarn room. I'm still turning the sound off so that I don't hear anything. And I'm just going to see if I notice any kind of change in my sleep patterns having it plugged in over there. I have noticed I feel better going to bed at night and not having that be the last thing I look at. I spend a little bit more time talking to my husband right before we go to sleep if I don't have my phone in there. And same thing, I kind of get up and moving easier if I'm not laying there for 5-10 minutes looking at my phone as soon as I wake up. Oh, there's Tippy. Tippy. Anyway, so yeah, that's just sort of, adding on to what I was trying to do last year, building onto that, or last month. I'm building onto that. Okay. That's it for the 90% and 10% part. I'm going to go into shop news. If you don't want to stick around for that, then I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. However, if you are interested in shop news, which includes winners for the monthly makes for February, then stay tuned and I'm going to tell you about that right now. Okay, so in February, this was the first month where we actually had a finished object thread, because January was kind of your gimme month. So I only had the Chatter thread winner and an Instagram winner last month. Let's see. I don't think I pulled an Instagram winner for February. I can't remember doing it, and if I did, I have to look back in Instagram and see if I did or not. If I did not, I'm going to pull 2 in March. I apologize. I don't know. That kind of got away from me. But I do have the finished object thread winner and the Chatter thread winner for February. So let me show you the prizes first. These are my around and about hat pattern kits, which I have 4 different color combinations that you can choose from. So the color combinations are soft black and raspberry. So this is your main color, this is your contrast. I did not bring a picture of my hat, but I'll try to remember to put a picture of the hat in here so you know what I'm talking about. Second one is Merlot and Wisp. So Merlot main color, Wisp contrast. Third one is Caribbean Blue. This is either Caribbean Blue or Turquoise Blue. I think it's turquoise. I have to double check. They're really close. Anyway, this really nice oceany blue and soft black as the contrast. And lastly, lime green and carrot juice as the contrast. This is a nice springy one. So anyway, those are the 4 choices. So that's the 4 prize choices. There are 2 winners. So when you hear that you're a winner, please PM me. Let me know you won. And then tell me your top 2 choices of color combinations. And whichever one is available first, I will send to you. So send me your mailing information too. All right. So the finished object thread winner, we had posts 2 through 17 for February. And random number generator chose number 7, which is Safe 54, and that is Cheryl. Congratulations, Cheryl. Let me know which color combination of yarn that you would like, and I will get that to you. And the kit also includes the pattern. Cheryl, I'm pretty sure you have the pattern because I'm pretty sure you were one of my test knitters for that pattern. But at any rate, just let me know you won. Okay, and then the Chatter thread winner for February. The Chatter thread posts were 132 through 193, so I put those numbers into random number generator, and it chose post number 153, and that is Pam, who is Pepper RN. So congratulations, Pam. Again, let me know what your top 2 color choices are, and I will get one of those kits sent out to you. You get the pattern. I just want to make that sure. I'm just showing you the yarn, but you get the whole kit that has the download code for Ravelry. All right, and again, I will double check on that whole Instagram winner thing, and like I said, if I didn't do one in February, I will do 2 in March. But I only announce those on Instagram, so you actually have to like be on Instagram to find that out. I did a shop update yesterday, which I did do like a little mini slideshow video that I did put up on YouTube, so hopefully you saw that. Thank you so much to everybody who shopped that. That was wonderful, and I'm so glad that you were enthusiastic about all those new colorways. I put in a lot of new colorways that I'm starting to dye for this show season, but I wanted to put them in the shop as well. So a bunch of them sold out, but there are still some up there, so you can check those out if you would like. I am going to be doing a special update this week on Thursday, which is March 14th, or 3.14. 159. It's Pi Day. Thursday is Pi Day. I have not done a new Pi Day colorway for a really long time, and I wanted to do one for Pi Day this year. I knew I wasn't going to have it ready to go prior to Pi Day so that you'd have it knit by Pi Day, but I thought it would be fun to put a listing up just for this colorway on Pi Day 3/14 and offer it to you. So I have a new pie colorway, and it is called Pie a la Mode. So this is the ice cream flavors you might want to eat with your pie. And here it is. And I think it's fun and springy, and honestly, just looking at it like this, it really kind of looks like ice cream, doesn't it? Oh my gosh. So anyway, this is 5 strips. If you're not familiar with my pie series of colorways, the original Pi Day colorway that I came out with several years ago set this whole thing in motion. And what's different about it, it's not so much the colors. I have several color variations out on the Pi Day yarn. It's the striping pattern. As you know, the mathematical concept of pi is a number that does not repeat. So the striping pattern in these skeins, in the pie skeins, do not repeat. You will never get a matching pair of socks or anything out of one skein of pie yarn. You would need 2 of the same kind of yarn, the same colorway, to get matching socks. But the stripe pattern, it stripes, the stripe, this is always so hard for me to describe. The sizes of the stripes in these colorways are sized relative to the digits in the number pi. So the first stripe represents the 3, because that's the first digit of pi, right? The second stripe represents the 1, which is the second digit, which means the second stripe will be 1/3 the size of the first one, because it's a 1 and the first one was a 3. If you have a stripe that has the digit 9 in it, that means it's going to be 3 times bigger than that first stripe, which was a 3, or 9 times bigger than a stripe that's a 1. Do you understand? Some people have had the misconception that the numbers in pi will tell you how many rounds you'll get in a stripe. That is not true. I couldn't do that just because everybody's gauge is different. You might be knitting it on a different, project than what I figured it on. And obviously, like fingering versus sport versus DK, it's all going to work up differently. It doesn't have to do with how many rounds you're getting in a stripe. It's all a relative concept that the stripe widths will differ relatively to the numbers in pi. I hope that makes sense. I always put the explanation in the shop listing. Anyway, so let's talk more about Pie a la Mode. And when I write it, it's P-I with the E in parentheses, just so you know. So the first flavor we've got of ice cream is vanilla, because vanilla pretty much goes with any pie you would want to eat. And French vanilla is probably my favorite ice cream ever. Anyway, I like French vanilla. I'm not a big ice cream eater, but I do love French vanilla. And it's so funny. I was looking up different ice cream pie combinations. I can't remember which one they said about vanilla being best for. Anyway, So there's vanilla, and then there is mint chocolate chip. Here's a good representation of mint chocolate chip. So it's the green stripe, but I have just little speckles of dark brown in there occasionally. It's not a heavily speckled stripe, but you know, for the chocolate chips, because you have to have them. Then there is cinnamon ice cream, which is fabulous with apple pie. We have a restaurant near here that does cinnamon ice cream with hot apple pie. It's amazing. So that's the cinnamon color right there. And then there is strawberry. And technically this represents strawberry sherbet. Because strawberry sherbet is supposed to be really good with pound cake, which makes sense because you can make strawberry shortcake out of pound cake and then have strawberry ice cream with it too. Oh my gosh, yum. And lastly, we have butter pecan. And butter pecan ice cream is definitely my second favorite ice cream. So it's a light buttery color, and then it's got these reddish brown specks in it for the chunks of pecan. Because if you've ever looked at that papery outside of the actual pecan meat, it's kind of reddish brown. So those two stripes, the butter pecan stripe and the mint chocolate chip stripe, will have mild speckling on purpose, speckles of those colors related to that ice cream colorway. And the others are just semi-solid color stripes. This is one of the socks I need to knit up a sample. I'm going to knit up a sample of this just to show how these colors work up in the stripes. Because speckles are hard to represent just when I do a picture on the computer. I like to have a sample actually knit. Also, when I do the pie skeins, there's always a stitch marker attached to the end that designates the beginning of the pie numeric sequence. So that's attached to the color segment that represents that first three. Always look for that. I put that in a little insert in the yarn so you will always know. Anyway, oh, and by the way, butter pecan is supposed to be an excellent ice cream to pair with pumpkin pie. I did not know that, and you can bet that the next time I make pumpkin pie, like at Thanksgiving this year, I'm going to have some butter pecan ice cream with it because, yes. Anyway, so this is pie a la mode that I will be putting in the shop on Thursday. What time will I put it in the shop? I think I will make it go live at midnight Eastern. That will actually benefit those of you who might be out of the U.S., like in Europe. But yeah, I will make it go live at midnight Eastern. So when you wake up first thing in the morning, you should be able to see this. I'm going to dye up as many of these as I can dye up to have ready to ship. I may add some extra listings though as pre-orders. So, you know, see what's there. I haven't made that decision for sure yet, but yeah, this will be in the shop on Thursday. Okay, what else? I'm planning to have one more update in March, and that will be on the 29th, 27th. I don't remember. 25, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 29th. I think that's the last Friday of March. That's when I'm planning to do my next regular update. That is going to be my 8th anniversary update. The shop will be 8 years old. I did my very, very first shop update on March 25th, 2011. Isn't that exciting? So I'm now technically in my 9th year of business because I started my business January 1st of 2011. That was my official business start date. So that's cool. I can't wait to celebrate that with you. I have 2 new colorways that I am releasing for my anniversary date. One of which is the socks that I knit that I can't show you yet. I'll show them on your next podcast. And then another one which I have not knit, but that's the other sample sock that I need to start. So I'm excited to have those. I will put as much other stuff as I can. I'll try to do some restocks of some of the colors that sold out from this past update. But I'll talk more about that on the next episode. Just a reminder about my spring show schedule. My next show is in Allentown. It's the Allentown Fiber Festival, and that is on Saturday and Sunday, April 13th and 14th at the Merchants Square Mall. I will be out I'm not in the main building. I'm going to be in the tent. There's like a big long tent that will be out there, like a big banquet kind of tent. So look for me there. I can't wait. I've never been to this show, but it looks fabulous from all the vendors that are going to be there. I cannot wait. I love doing new shows. So please look for me there. And then I will also be at Needles Up Maryland on Friday, May 3rd. I won't be at Maryland Sheep and Wool that weekend, though. I'm only going down for Needles Up that day. But I hope if you're going to Maryland and you'll be around Friday, you'll stop at Needles Up. So more information on that one closer to that time. That's everything. I know this has been a really, really long podcast. I appreciate so much you sticking around and watching, but this is what happens when I don't record for a while. So I will talk to you again soon. Have a lovely rest of your week and take care. Bye.